I'm so excited you've tuned into the Sacred Gut Punch podcast, the place of authentic stories, real breakthroughs, and endless possibilities. I'm Dr. Tomi White-Bryan. I'm a coach and consultant in human and organizational performance and the creator of Emotional Intelligence 3.0, a system for achieving extraordinary performance. In this episode of the Sacred Gut Punch podcast, we have such an extraordinary human being. I am so grateful that Dan Holden said yes. I've known Dan since 2008. He's been a mentor. Actually, his footprint is on my soul. Gosh, here I go. I haven't even finished introducing you. I'm already tearing up because I love who you are in my life, Dan Holden. You're just an extraordinary human being. Really grateful to have you here. I've loved the journey we've been on together. And today, Dan, you're going to get to share some of that journey with our listeners. So welcome.
What a great introduction. I can only go down from there.
Well, I know you and it won't happen. So there we are. So Dan, tell us about the Sacred Gut Punch that you've experienced.
Well, the one that has landed me on your show here today is about how a guy with no horse experience at all gets dropped into a herd of horses and survives, and more than survives, ends up in a 2-year coaching with horses certification program and has his life turned upside down. Everything I thought I knew about connection, transparency, trust, building rapport, all that kind of went out the window when I began working with horses and when they began working with me. And so that's the short story.
Well, and you also, I want to make sure our listeners know that you just released your second book, right? The second book, The Accidental Horse Guy, Spiritual Healing with Horses for Leaders, Veterans, and Those Lost Between Lives. And I've been reading it, Dan, and everybody who listens knows I'm a crybaby. Your words just resonate so deeply with my soul. Just the dedication. For Lisa, who has felt my breathing and heard the hum of my dream since the day we first met. How lucky that you have someone who's been that connected to you to hear, that those words, the hum of my dream.
Yeah. It's, she is a great blessing. And I know a lot of folks live with and are married to people who sort of don't really understand them, but they sort of support their dreams and such. But I mean, she is my dream. I live with someone who gets me. I don't have to explain anything to her, including my weird esoteric beliefs, frankly, that I share with you. So
yes.
it's just a blessing to be with someone that I don't have to explain myself to.
Yeah, that's beautiful that you have each other. And she's the reason why she's the reason you're the accidental horse guy, yes?
Yes, I've had no experience with horses. She was always the horse person in the family. She rode horses for many years until the horses got injured and she couldn't ride anymore. And so she was the one who found coaching with horses, the certification program. I sort of tagged along for a 3-day teaser course, mostly to see what she was up to. And that was my introduction to horses. And I was just completely taken aback by the experience of how horses connected with me. I, at one point, was in tears, much like you, tears for 2 days. I couldn't speak. Mm-hmm. The experience of being joined up with and partnered with a horse was just overwhelming to me. It was just unbelievable. And then the journey sort of continued after that. Lisa and I were back home and in our barn one night, the indoor arena, and she was holding a horse that was one of ours. I didn't know the horse that well, but I'd been hanging out with him over a fence for a couple of years. I didn't have the courage to go in and actually be in the herd with him, but I knew him over the fence. And so she was walking him in the indoor arena It was early spring, a nasty day outside. Ice was falling off the roof of the barn. It was noisy and crazy, and horses don't like that kind of noise, and this horse didn't either. His name was Regalo. And at one point, she asked me if I would be willing to hold him for just a moment so she could go and do something in the barn. And so I reluctantly and with fear said yes. So now I'm standing next to this horse. He's much taller than I am. I'm 6'1". Very strong horse, the leader of his herd. So this is a horse that knows who he is and knows what he's about. He's getting anxious standing next to me. I'm getting anxious holding this horse. And in a rare moment of insight, I turned to Regalo and said, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm afraid. I feel overwhelmed by this. I've never had this experience with you. We've never stood like this before. I'm afraid. And as soon as I said that, he calmed down.
Wow.
And we decided to walk around the arena. I had him on a lead rope, and every once in a while we'd stop and look out the windows, and we did this for 8 or 10 minutes. I had no idea where Lisa was. She probably went out to dinner somewhere. But at some point, I felt compelled to take off the lead rope. And we continued walking around that arena for another 10 or 15 minutes, shoulder to shoulder.
For those of us who aren't horse people, what's the impact of taking the lead rope off the horse?
Well, now there's nothing that stops the horse from running loose. He's in an arena, so he can run wild. Mm. You have no control. In fact, the only control you have, if you want to call it that, is whatever trust and respect you've built up with that horse. And so in that moment, when I took the lead rope off, it was again, no horse experience. It was a huge moment for me. And to my surprise, he and I continued to walk around that arena together, shoulder to shoulder, for another 10 or 15 minutes. There was nothing connecting us except the rapport, the trust and respect we had for each other. It was just an extraordinary moment. I still get tears in my eyes talking about it. This was several years ago. This was when the certification program was just beginning. But this was my introduction.
So Dan, it feels like in that moment of absolute surrender to the fact that you did not know what you were doing, this horse is much larger than you. There was some conveyance of heart-to-heart truth and authenticity between you and Regalo.
Yeah, yes. And it was my introduction to how important all those things are to horses. I call it coming clean, owning up to what's actually happening in you. And I have since learned, and I continue to learn, that it doesn't seem to bother a horse whatever is happening in you. What the horse wants to know, do you know what's happening in you? Mm. If you do, if you're congruent with what's happening, if you can own it, see it, claim it, then you've got a partner in a horse. If you pretend that's not happening, if you put on a face, so to speak, the horse registers that as incongruence, and that's how they experience predators. And so they've survived, thousands and thousands of years by being able to discern what's happening in animals they see around them. They have to be able to discern if that wolf pack 300 yards away are resting in the sun or planning their attack. A horse's ability to do that is said to be thousands of times more sharp, more developed than our own. They see and register our thoughts, feelings, and emotions before we even know we're having them. They register the energetic vibration, I think. And so I was beginning to be taken to school about what it really means to show up, what it means to be transparent and to own whatever's happening in and around me.
And you've already been a consultant for 20 some years, right?
Yes,
You've already been teaching people authenticity and truthfulness and showing up and coming clean. So this feels like it was just a whole new level of that in terms of, oh, wait a minute, maybe I was never really coming clean.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I suppose there are levels of coming clean with what I think and believe and what I understand and what I philosophically believe is true. But there are levels of authenticity below that, behaviors, feelings, attitudes, judgments, core beliefs. I mean, those are levels of authenticity that the horse immediately can see and respond to that I, in some respects, had no real awareness of. I mean, I thought I did, but all of that was turned upside down when I began working more closely with horses.
That's so beautiful that, I do believe there are layers,
Yeah,
right? And we will keep revisiting the same issue as much as I dislike it from those different layers, right? Until we resolve it. And so it feels like horses sort of cut through the layers and come in at this sort of core place of deep authenticity.
yes, yeah. I mean, a lot of people who come to us for our equine coaching sessions will leave knowing something significant has happened, something deep has shifted in them, but they don't have language for it. And I have come to believe that the horse works at the level of the soul, where the language that we use doesn't quite work. There's no need for that kind of language. Now, days later, our clients will call or email us and say, now here's what I understand has happened. But it's taken that long for language to become available to something that they knew was true days earlier.
So Dan and I belong to a community of practice together. I have the privilege of spending lots of time with him, sitting in circle, letting him drop wisdom bombs on the rest of us. And this is one of my favorites. You said, when we're in the circle and we run out of words, you always go, good. When we run out of words, the real conversation starts.
Yes.
And it feels like that's what you found in the profoundness of working with horses. It's no longer about the conversation.
No, or you're in a very different conversation. Early in the certification program, I was the only one with no horse experience, and there were 8 of us in the cohort. And I had no sooner begun these on-site sessions than I began feeling pretty inadequate. Like, what am I doing here? I can't get the horse to do anything, and I don't know anything compared to what all these other folks do. And at some point early on, I was confronted by, this is where language doesn't work. I was confronted by the Council of Horses. That's a name I just made up. But this council was as vivid to me in that moment as you are now on this call. And their message to me was, your lack of experience is a gift to us. You have no bad habits we have to train you out of. You have no bad assumptions. You have no faulty experiences with us. You know nothing, but that leaves you more open than anyone here. And that was a game changer for me. I went on for the next almost 2 years, really enjoying and being challenged by what I was learning, but really enjoying and not trying to cover up what I don't know. But that message, it seemed to me that it was imprinted on reality itself and came into me. It was that vivid. And again, language doesn't quite capture it.
I'm just sitting in that understanding and deep knowing that you're talking about. I sometimes have things pop into my head that I know don't come from me. They come from somewhere else. And that's what I hear you talking about.
Yes, absolutely true.
And what was the experience, hearkening back to you walking without Regalo being on a lead? Did Lisa come back and find the two of you walking around the...
About 10 years later, she came back into the arena. That's how long it seemed. But at that point, we were walking together, the horse and I, and we're in no particular hurry to have that moment end. We continued to walk for another moment or so, and then Lisa joined us, and we got busy doing other things. But at some point, we just lost track of time, and it no longer mattered because whatever was happening between us was all that mattered.
And Lisa wasn't surprised by
She was surprised,
She
yes.
was.
She's very surprised. Yeah.
It feels like, Dan, that there were beliefs or, something I love to call noble certainties, the way we think the world works but doesn't, that you had to let go of to make space for this new reality of authenticity of being with the horses.
Yeah. Well, the big one was I don't know anything about horses, and I have nothing to offer horses. I don't know anything. I have nothing of value to offer. That was a huge one. And until the Council of Horses spoke to me, it might have been a deal breaker.
Well, let me ask you this question, because it feels so, sometimes when the universe drops a thought in my head or whoever it is, it's like I hear an echo across the universe, like a crack or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And it feels like the moment this horse collective spoke to you about your being a novice, that it was one of those cracks across the universe.
Yes. And for me, those kind of cracks always leave me feeling lighter, more buoyant. I leave feeling seen and not judged. And I feel in moments following, empowered with greater clarity and confidence. And that's always been the case when those moments happen.
Right. Right. And, I'm curious about coaching before and then coaching after
Yeah.
with the horses.
At one point when you and I were talking, you used the metaphor of life as being we're born into a 100-room mansion, and by the time we get out of school and church and survive college, that 100-room mansion has become a 3-room apartment. There are rooms we're told we're not supposed to go in. That's bad. That's not good. That's a sin if you go in that room. That room makes no sense. That room isn't logical. You can name the rooms, but by the time we're in our mid-20s, we've taken that 100-room mansion and we're living in a very crowded 3-room apartment. And with horses, I began to reclaim those rooms. Now, part of it is the way we work with horses, the way we were trained. One of the models that really made a huge difference and continues to, not just with horses, but in my coaching with humans, is the mind-body method. It's a way of getting out of the head and into the body, where horses are more likely to be able to reach and connect with us. They don't speak with words, obviously, but they speak energetically, and we register that more in our body than we do in our heads. But the mind-body method, and there are several iterations, but the short course is there are 4 questions that we can ask ourselves at any time. We do this in our coaching sessions with horses and elsewhere. The first question, where am I in my body? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And how is my breathing? It's just a short way to interrupt all the mental noise and drop more fully into the body. And I am finding that, months and months of work on this, and now several years of experience using that model, that more rooms are available to me. There's more of me present when I'm working with people and when I show up with horses. And so, to your point a moment ago, in conversations with people, at this point, will often have memories of dreams I had when I was in my 20s, or a chance encounter with someone at an airport years ago, and I know enough now to bring those into a conversation, usually by apologizing first. I'm having this strange dream as I talk to you. It doesn't mean anything to me. Does it mean something to you? And invariably, the client cracks open, and that something that didn't mean anything to me has significance to them. The horses have taught me that. They're teaching me how to own more and more of what's happening in me and offering that to the world. And strangely enough, as grounded and as present as horses are in the moment, they also seem to operate between worlds. So we've had people, and you know them, Jim and others, who have
Mhm.
been through coaching sessions with us several years ago, will call us or email us and say, hey, I was in a workshop today and didn't know what to do, and this horse dropped into my consciousness with clarity, and I knew exactly what to do. And what's fascinating to me is that horse or those horses may have died 2 years ago.
Wow.
They're no longer here in form, but some part of their essence seems to continue and continues to speak. And I myself have had that experience of having a Regalo, this horse I mentioned a moment ago, at one point passed away, and we got a new horse several months later. I didn't know how to connect with the horse, and I was in meditation one morning, and Regalo showed up again vividly. Here's how you connect with the new horse. Very detailed instructions. Stand next to your side for 6 months. Say nothing, do nothing, make no demands.
Wow.
That's how you connect. And that's about as fast as the moment was. Just boom, do this. That's how I spent my winter with this new horse. I sat next to him when he was feeding. When he wandered over to a fence, I'd go over with him. I didn't mention anything to him, no words, no nothing, for 6 months. And then we had this amazing relationship.
Dan, what a beautiful lesson in presence.
Yes.
The Buddhists, I think it's the Buddhists who say, we don't need to say anything, but I love you and look out for that cliff, right? Which is really
Yes.
safety and love, right? And what you just shared struck me so deeply about being with, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the core learnings that I'm having with horses. They're just this expanded, deepened ability to simply be with what's happening without judgment, without wanting to have some other moment instead. I mean, I still have those thoughts, but I'm aware of them and can get back to the moment a lot quicker than was true in the past.
Yeah. So Dan, what's coming up for me is an example I read from Parker Palmer.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love his stuff, but he was talking about he was at a time in his life where he was very depressed. And people would come over and say, well, you need to do this, or you need to do that. Let's go out. And he said, but his next door neighbor came over and said, listen, I think he came over like at 2:00 or 3:00 every day. I don't need anything. I'm just here to wash your feet. And every day the neighbor came over, didn't say anything, made no demands, and just washed Parker Palmer's feet. And he said there was something transformative about that being with no judgments, no demands.
Yes.
And boy, aren't horses such a beautiful example of that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great example that you just mentioned with Parker Palmer. Just beautiful. But we live in a society that seems to value doing stuff, being productive, getting stuff done. And what we learn from horses is that's just a lot of crap. There's a benefit in learning how to be present with and being present with what's happening in the moment without having to do anything. I will challenge my coaching clients who are very invariably in some sort of transition and feeling stuck, and their complaint is nothing's happening. My response is always, how do you know nothing's happening? How do you know? It could be that everything's happening, but you simply don't see it or experience it just yet. But you have no idea what's actually going on any more than I do.
Isn't that a beautiful lesson, though? That
Yeah.
we don't, if we think we can't see it, it doesn't exist. And that's a noble certainty because it's not true, is it?
Right. It's not true at all. Not true at all. I have literally, in coaching sessions with horses, have stood next to a client who's having a significant emotional experience with the horse standing next to this person. And I experience nothing. I can certainly witness what's happening, but I'm not part of it. She's having some other moment, and I sort of joke with Lisa. I said, I'm learning how to become irrelevant. I'm learning how to back out of the way and manage my own ego and allow what needs to happen to happen. And it's been a beautiful lesson.
Yeah, so Dan, that you're saying you back up and get out of the way. That is so much the practice I've been working on is as the instrument of transcendence, we don't have to do anything but show up.
Right. Yeah, life has its own agenda. We need to see it, understand it, and get out of the way unless we're instructed to do something else. But
Right. Right. This to me is the ultimate. I read Theory U maybe 15 years ago, and didn't understand about allowing the future to emerge through me. But this is exactly what you're talking about, right? When we can stand there and be with the horse and not feel compelled to act, but to be patient to see what wants to emerge.
mhm,
That's really when we're allowing.
yes,
We're allowing.
yes. And I love this notion of the apprehending the future that makes itself known to you instead of
Yes.
believing that you can do something for something, make something happen. I mean, there are moments where that's the case, but more often and at deeper levels, the future is what's actually causing this moment. It knows where you need to be 6 months from now or a year from now, and it arranges
Yeah.
experiences today to help shape that. Now,
Yes.
do I have enough evidence to go to court and prove that? Probably not, but between you and me,
Dan, I love this. In your book, The Accidental Horse Guy, you talk about, as for me, I'm just staying close to the mystery. And
yeah.
I think that's the appreciation through our community of practice that I've developed is for the mystery. I don't need to know. Just show up, see what happens, expect magic and miracles, and it'll be whatever it's going to be.
Yes, yeah. That's a great summary of my life to date. Thank you for that. Very much. Thank you very much. This was worth the call itself.
You're hilarious. All right. So you in our group, Community of Practice, are known for your poetry, your wise sayings, these amazing things that you have recall of that marvel the rest of us. Is there something, some passage in a book, some poem, something you relied on as you walked this journey of letting go and deepening into authenticity through the horse journey?
Yes. I love the question. And yes, there is a poem that I go back to frequently. And I saw this poem years ago. And it's one of the few poems that I've carried with me all these years. And it certainly has helped me with the horses. And it's also a poem that really speaks to what's required to step into the future that is calling. Yeah, it's a poem by Rainer Rilke, a great German Austrian poet. He lived in the late 19th century, early 20th century, and he spent his whole life writing about what's required to live right on the edge of your passion, right next to your terror. That edge. And this poem is called A Man Watching, and it's just a poem about him watching a huge storm roll in across the fields. Hurricane season now here in North America, so maybe it's appropriate. But he writes, and I don't have the full poem here, but just these lines. If only we would let ourselves be dominated, as things do, by some immense storm, we would become strong too and not need names. When we win, it's with small things, and the winning itself makes us small. What is extraordinary and eternal will not be bent by us. So, I mean, out of the gate, this, for me, the advice here is to make sure if you're going to be fighting, make sure you're in a big enough fight. We talk in our work about the reactive way of fighting, which is you're winning small battles, but the more you win, the smaller you become.
Mm.
There's some other force. He calls it what's extraordinary and eternal. The extraordinary and eternal is always within us, trying to get our attention. And his admonition here, it won't be bent by us. It doesn't give a damn what we think we need and want. But then this last line, This is the line that I have carried with me all these years. He says, this is how a person grows strong, by being defeated decisively by greater and greater beings. Now, that line, it's easy to see how that is true in athletics and in the performing arts. You get better by going up against people who are better. That's how you get stronger. But it also, for me, applies to personal development, personal leadership development. We get strong by going up against decisively greater beings who basically kick our ass. So, the themes that people come in to our coaching sessions with are probably themes that you hear in your own coaching sessions, Tomi. I want to become more authentic. I want to step more into my power. I want to be more courageous. I want to get clear about purpose. I want to learn how to let go. I want to set clearer boundaries. Those are all examples of great conversations, big victories that people seek. And my advice is, okay, you're going to get your ass kicked. Let's just prepare for that, and let that be the conversation. I had a woman show up about a year ago saying, I want to learn how to work from my heart more. This is a brilliant woman, a scientist. I want to lead with my heart more. And so I said, okay, fine. Well, 2 weeks later, she shows up completely pissed, frustrated, angry. So what happened? And apparently there was a mother and child on the sidewalk, and she was waiting for the bus, and this mother was berating her child and angry, and my client was just completely taken aback by this anger and the injustice of it. And how could a parent say those things to her own child? And she turns to me and says, what's happening to me? Why am I so angry? I said, you wanted to work from your heart. It's not always a pretty place. I never saw her again.
Oh, you're kidding.
Never saw her again.
Wow.
Maybe there was a different intervention I could make. I just thought it was kind of funny. It's like, you're being defeated. Now let's stay in that conversation rather than shy away or run away. Let's stay in that, because that's exactly, apparently, what was important for you to see and register.
Yes, but we don't always like it, right?
No.
I mean, that's right. And so I was working with a client a couple weeks ago, and I said to him, the distance from where you are to where your heart is 40 miles of anger. And the only way, you can't go over it, you can't go under it. The only way to get there is to go through it. And Dan, some people just, it's not the right moment. It's not now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What a beautiful story that she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready to take on the anger. I get that.
Yeah. Well, that was a room that she wasn't willing to enter, going back to the mansion. And yet, for me, that room it's a big deal. That's a very important room.
Dan, I know that my coaching clients get very tired of hearing me say, oh, you're angry. This is good. Good things are about to happen. And I had one client say, will you quit saying that? I'm not happy I'm angry. I said, well, I am, because it means we're going to get somewhere and we're going to get there quickly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Dan, this is wonderful. I'm so grateful you're sharing with us. What I'm curious about is, for our listeners who are maybe being confronted by things they are afraid of that are bigger than them, what advice do you have for them to be in the moment with that without it taking them out?
Yeah. It's a beautiful question. And I can answer on the call like this, but sometimes, going back to a comment we made earlier, sometimes it's just enough to be with them in that moment, not offer advice. But since you've asked, I would say stay in that moment. Don't leave the playing field. Don't stray ahead, or don't lag behind. Stay in the day you're actually having. And if it gets too hard, then offer, maybe with your own groans and agonies, offer a short prayer to what you understand God or your higher power to be. At least then you know you're working with all the forces in play and not just your own personality. So stay, don't stray, pray, and whatever that means to you, the fewer the words, the better. In fact, words are not always necessary. I groan most of the time. If I'm in fear, I groan and just, let that be enough. But at that point, you've opened yourself to what the universe is actually trying to say to you, and you're, who knows, a step away from a miracle happening.
Wow, that's beautiful. So stay, don't stray, and pray.
Yeah.
So that all the forces come to your aid, not just your own.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. So Dan, is your website Daniel Holden or danholden.com? In case people want to find you.
Yeah, the easiest way now is with the horses to look at veteransequinealliance.com, veteransequinealliance.com, or espirituhorse.com.
And that's E-S...
Piritu, espirituhorse.com.
Okay, great. And you guys offer coaching, equine coaching sessions to folks?
Yeah.
Regular coaching sessions as well?
Regular coaching sessions just between the two-leggeds. And if you're interested in working with horses, then we offer those as well. And this is not a riding program. There's no riding at all. It's all ground-based work, and you don't have to have any experience. I'm living proof of that. And if you're afraid, you're still welcomed.
That's wonderful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, dear extraordinary friend, for being here. And just want to remind our listeners that your book is The Accidental Horse Guy, Spiritual Healing with Horses for Leaders, Veterans, and Those Lost Between Lives. And yeah, no words for you sharing your wisdom with our listeners. Thank you 1,000 times over.
Thank you so much, Tomi, for having me. It's been a delight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Sacred Gut Punch. I'd like to thank our sponsors who make this podcast possible, the EI 3.0 companies of Bryan Insights and the Center for Emotional Well-Being, and of course, always to my husband, attorney Jim Bryan. Thank you for your endless support and love. I love you to the moon and back, Jimmy. If you're finding inspiration in the stories, please like and subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends and family who can benefit from these stories of resilience and rising. And if you're experiencing a sacred gut punch, remember, while you may feel alone, you are not. Help is out there. If you or someone you know is in crisis and considering suicide or self-harm, please seek support. Call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988, or chat at 988lifeline.org. And if you're not in the United States, Befrienders worldwide at befrienders.org can help you. Until next time, dear ones, may you use the difficulty as you rise with grace.